Opco Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell. Time for our 5 and 5 Barry. We got 5 topics. Let's get right to it. First one, finish this sentence. OU softball is.
OU softball is fun. They're fantastic, they're phenomenal, they're historic, they're all those things, but they're also fun. For a team to be that good and have that much fun playing, just a great story. I mean, this is a team for the ages, a player, 2-time National Player of the Year, and then you don't even need her to pitch the final game of the Women's World Series. You got somebody else that comes out and throws a 3-hit shutout, Michelle Gascoigne. So this is a great, great team. I hope Patty Gasso can repeat at some point or win another one, but a team like this doesn't come around very often. You said it.
Well, and you mentioned historic. That'd be my fill in the blank. OU softball is historic. This is one of the best teams college softball has ever seen. You know, there's been some rule changes over the years that have altered the game, pitching, where the pitching rubber is, the color of the ball that they use. So what you see now is a little different than what you saw maybe 25 years ago. So you have to gauge it a little bit differently. But you've also got a lot more talent around the country now. It's a lot harder for a team to be as dominant as OU was this year. They lost only 4 games. They beat opponents by an average of like 7 runs a game, Barry. Their run differential was over 400 for the season. Over 400 is how much they outscored opponents by. That in any era would be unbelievable, but in an era that you've got, it's a lot more level playing field, it's really impressive. You got to consider them among the greats of the great UCLA teams, the great Arizona teams. There's a great Arizona State team a couple years ago. This OU team right in that group. All right, Barry, what about this? Finish this sentence. Keilani Ricketts
is Babe Ruth. And, you know, there was a time when I really couldn't say that because that's not all that together complimentary of somebody that knows a whole lot about Babe Ruth in terms of what he looked like and how he acted. But, I mean, Babe hadn't played now in 70-something years, and only codgers like me remember what he was like. So, but you're talking about one of the nation's best hitters and the nation's best pitcher. That's a phenomenal combination. Lisa Fernandez was that way at UCLA in the early 90s, but not too often do you get somebody. Keilani Ricketts, best pitcher in America, and she also hit the World Series winning home run. So typical performance for Keilani, just a phenomenal all-around player.
I'll go with the same finish that I had the first sentence. Keilani Ricketts is historic. I think, again, you're seeing a player that you're not going to see many like her. I mean, Barry talks about Babe Ruth and that analogy. One thing about Babe Ruth was his aura, you know, just how he intimidated, whether he was throwing or hitting. That's Keilani Ricketts. She just has a presence about her. Her stature is big, and then she's able to back that up with the way she throws, the way she hits, just the power game. You just don't see a lot of players like that. You know, rare in the college game is a pitcher that is as powerful as a hitter. You mentioned, you know, Lisa Fernandez, Jenny Finch was a hitting pitcher. We've seen it some over the years, but not with the power that Ricketts had. I think that's the thing that really stood out to me, is just how powerful she was, whether on the rubber or in the batter's box. All right, Barry, what about this? Jonathan Gray is the OU pitcher. Finish that sentence.
Jonathan Gray is, excuse my French, Jonathan Gray is stupid. I don't know why Jonathan...
Stupid is French?
Jonathan Gray agreed to a drug test he didn't have to take. This was not any kind of official drug test. The NCAA drug tests him. OU drug tests him. He passed all of those, and yet the baseball scouts in some sort of interview session ask him to take a drug test, and he goes ahead and does it, and it's not necessarily well monitored. He didn't go to any kind of official clinic or anything. Bad decision by Jonathan Gray. Don't take drug tests that aren't well regulated and well monitored. It's a big mess for the OU pitcher. It's unfortunate, but it is a good lesson for all these baseball draft eligible players.
Well, my finish to that sentence is Jonathan Gray is not going to be hurt by this long term. I still think he's going to be a high draft pick. Now, in the short term, it's going to be interesting to see how all this talk about what happened, is any of that in his head as he and his OU teammates head to LSU to try to win a super regional. His performance is going to be critical. He's going to have to pitch fantastically. He's going to have to go and have a long outing as far as innings go. How much is this weighing on him is a question that we're not going to know the answer to until he's on the mound. So I think long term, he's still taken high in the draft. He still becomes a good professional pitcher. But how is he short term? I don't know. I think that's a little bit up in the air, and how it does affect him, we'll have to wait and see. All right, Barry, finish this, our fun question of the week. Favorite story of the college sports year? What are you going with?
Well, I'm going away from the field of play. I'm not going to go to a field or a court or a ball diamond. I'm going to a student union. And my favorite story of the college sports year is the day that Marcus Smart and LeBron Nash and Markel Brown said, we're all coming back to play basketball at OSU next season. And they staged a press conference there in the atrium of the OSU Student Union, and all the students were around, and everybody was fired up, and everybody was thrilled. And in a sport in which almost everybody goes pro, no great player comes back. Even the good players like Markel Brown rarely stay, and even the marginal prospects like LeBron Nash are tempted to leave. All three of these guys said, you know what? We're having fun, let's do it again. And it's a little bit of a throwback. I hope it goes well for the Cowboys. I hope it puts them in the Final Four in 2014. But that one day in Stillwater back in April was really sort of refreshing and sort of renewed your faith in the sport of college basketball.
Well, I'm going with an OSU story as well, but this one was on the field, and that's Clint Shelf. I mean, here's a guy that at the beginning of practice is basically told, you're the third string guy, best of luck to you, see you at the end of the year sort of thing. You're not going to be a part of what happens on the field this year. And I think that would be understandable under most circumstances. Most third string guys aren't going to see the field when you're a quarterback. But lo and behold, circumstances evolve, and Clint Shelf is not only the guy at the end of the year starting for the Cowboys, but he's the heir apparent to be the starter come this next fall, Barry. To me, unbelievable. If you love underdog stories, you got to love the story of Clint Shelf.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
All right, lastly, Barry, true false to finish up 5-5. Wright City in the Class A state tournament is the right decision.
The truth is, it is the right decision at this point in time. 2 years ago, it would have been false. It would have been the wrong decision. But the OSSAA erred when it reinstated Guthrie a year and a half ago into the state football playoffs because of an ineligible player. The OSSA ruled that the Guthrie Blue Jays could play. Rafe Watkins, the coach, was suspended and had to sit out. But they set a precedent. When you say, that's why you got to make careful decisions, because you crack the door, all of a sudden it's wide open. So I think Wright City should have been out of the tournament, but by the precedent that was set, you got to look and say, we let Guthrie in, we got to let Wright City in.
Rafe Watkins argued that it was a bookkeeping error, an error on his part. So punish him, not the kids. That's what Wright City argued. So it fits that the OSSAA would allow Wright City in. I'm also going to say true, this is the right decision, but also because you got to get this thing played. I mean, if the precedent wouldn't have been there, then you say no and you fight it till the end. But with the precedent there and the fact that you've got teams that have been hanging in limbo for weeks and weeks and weeks. We had a great story in our paper last Sunday, great in that it was really well done, but unfortunate in that there's a player from Rattan who is a part of the Rattan baseball team, but he decided to go into the Army, and he's had to report, and he's going to be gone. There are just a ton of stories like this, Barry. These teams and players basically need to be able to get on with their lives, and they've sort of been left in limbo. So the fact that the OSSAA said, let's get going, let's get this thing played, to me, that's another reason that it's a good thing that this thing is going ahead and that Wright City is a part of it. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.